We're gonna get through this thing.
You need this?
Yeah, well, no.
Tim,
You got one.
where's that money that we set aside? I forget what they called it, but it was for, we was gonna use it for the school guard, for the, officer, for the first week of school.
All right, are we ready with the technology?
Recording in progress.
It is 7:09 on May the 4th, 2023. This is a special meeting for discussion of the budget. I'm going to turn this part over to, excuse me, let me take care of this other stuff. If we would, let's do a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you don't mind, I'll do the invocation. Please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, watch over us this evening. We're doing some very important business for the town, for our citizens. It's very important that we get this right. Watch over us as we travel back and forth. Thank you for your many blessings. Amen. I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Foy at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next up on the agenda is to review and adopt the agenda. Does anybody have any changes? Which there should be really no changes or additions because this is a special called meeting.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the agenda as written.
I'll second it.
All right, am I, Jimmy?
Aye.
I'm aye.
All right. Next, we'll have the discussion of the 2023-2024 annual budget. From my perspective, Kim, you've captured the changes we discussed in the April meeting.
Yes.
One thing I'd like to verify is that, did you capture the 3% cost of living adjustment for
Yes, I did.
all salary? Okay?
And
I like
I did want to mention as well, I did fix the, our short-term disability, even though it's been approved, it's going up 50 cents. So I made that adjustment there as well. We had a little bit of an overage, at the last April meeting, but, I have,
Okay. I failed to do citizens' comments before the meeting, so when you get done with that sentence, we're gonna go back to citizens' comments. My sincere apologies.
I'm done.
All right. Sorry to catch your flow there. Citizens' comments, we have 3 folks with us tonight. Would anybody like to speak? We have one. Take the podium and speak into the microphone, please. If you could, please say your name and address, too.
Mr. Mayor, if I may interrupt, Tim Jones, I forgive my tardiness, asked the clerk to clock me in.
Welcome, Mr. Jones.
Thank you all for having me. My name is Jordan Baumforth. I live at 7708 Hap Court, Cornersville, Stokesdale, 27284. Appreciate the time for letting me come here. I have never actually done this before. My wife and 3 daughters have been in the area for 5 years, just living in the Shadow Ridge area. Love Stokesdale. I am president of Parks and Rec for Stokesdale as of 2021. And as a headline, I come here to request assistance for some further development with our baseball and softball field, mostly out of the safety of our kids, as well as just the ongoing efforts we've put into our infrastructure to update the experience for the community. Briefly, I was an emergency appointee as president in 2021. The program was negative $20,000 in the hole. And my wife and I in the community got together and in subsequent years have put a ton into repair. I don't know if y'all have been to the fields or seen the fields, but a mountain of work has gone into new bathrooms, new concessions, new cheerleaders, new padding in the basketball gym, new scoreboards, clearing out the back area for extended parking. We have some additional community efforts with the Girl Scouts to put in a trail down to the waterfall, which I had no idea existed. And most recently, we updated the baseball field with LED lights, which was a very, very unexpected expense after the existing infrastructure gave out. The wiring completely disintegrated after approximately 40 years of existence. So thanks to a couple of community people that knew some people that knew some people, in a 3-week span before the week started, we were able to get new LED lights. They are on the existing poles that are roughly 40 years old. Some of those poles are leaning. The other poles, when we did an assessment with Darren McNeil, are holdout, warped, rotted, or about to fall. We did have a beam actually come off the top one and land on the second one that we ended up having to remove last year. Thankfully, it was during the off-season, so nobody was hurt. Given that we have the new lights and the kids are playing without missing a beat, I've come to request and put a plan in place to hopefully to replace both fields' poles and then get LEDs for the softball field to bring everything together. So we have gotten a bid for it. As it's come across, we've already paid an early portion to get those LED lights, but that is the hope here today.
What is your bid?
Yeah, you got it with you?
Yeah, bid, I can send it in PDF. I apologize, I didn't bring it in writing, but net amount for the whole thing, including what we've already done, has cost $103,000. After what we have paid into with those LED lights, it is $68,000 remaining that we're looking for, and that's replacements for both poles and then LEDs for the softball field. I do not come to ask for the full amount. I firmly believe in having skin in the game with what we do. Part of what we did a year ago to try out the community fundraising element was that playground that if you've been to the ball fields we put up, and in one day we raised a little over $33,000 in that sense. That was, the kids were wonderful. They don't play in the parking lot or anything like that anymore. And then putting up that net was a beast unto itself. But I know the community can raise up that much. Kirsty and I put in quite a bit of chunk of change in that overall, but it's $68,000 total.
What kind of poles are you putting up?
They are, I have it in the bid and details. I can send it out to you. I'm not an expert on that matter, but they are professionally approved, whatever that means, as far as these are standard installation from a commercial standpoint. Wooden to be exact, but still commercial, yeah.
They say what kind of life it have or anything?
When I talked to John Campbell, whose company runs this, they have a roughly 40, 50-year period. I don't know how that actually measures out in terms of experience. With what the poles we've seen here, it's been 40 years. The ones we've had lean, one was a significant storm, and the other one was on the back end of the gully of the baseball field where some of the field has come down.
Jordan, I have a couple things. I'm not surprised that you're having to replace these lights. My son played up there until really COVID, and I think one of our games was actually canceled because when we turned on the lights, the sparks flew. So, and Darren McNeil, who you mentioned, I'm familiar with him as well. Back in my previous time with the board, he was an electrician that volunteered significant time and resources to really Band-Aid the equipment that's up there at the stadium. You did mention being able to raise $33,000 in one day. I mean, that's impressive. What if you took out your top 2 or 3 donors to that? What would that $33,000 be?
Yes.
I'm trying to gauge your realistic ability to further raise money on top of this.
Yep. So at that point, our top donors ended up being roughly $15,000 from the one donor. So subtract that from 33 would be 18 in one day.
How much money, when you take out, and I think this is a fair question since you've come to the town with the request that I'm interested in, but if you took out any current obligations or expenses, operating expenses, how much money would you have in the bank right now?
Full transparency, the account is at $40,000 after all existing current expenses have been paid. We do have earmarked $12,000 we're getting new red dirt clay put into both fields, and we're getting a new batting cage for the softball field. Plus, we just signed off on replacing all the lights in the basketball gym. to LEDs over at the elementary school. The Darren McNeil thing, I've been in that bucket truck every off-season in there with him. I don't know if there's a way to give him a shout out in this, but he's incredible.
Yeah.
I don't like those heights, and being up there, putting some of the things up there with him was a fun thing.
So so you need to raise $68,000. You have $40,000 in the bank, but you've obligated close to half of that for current projects. You mentioned a project at the school?
Yeah, so we're replacing the LED lights in there.
Okay, in exchange for that, in the past, when I was on the board, we would make investments on, at the school gym in exchange for not being charged to use for the basketball program in the winter season. Do you expect, are y'all continuing that trend, and do you expect that the organization is doing this out of goodwill and to avoid that expense from Guilford County?
So this is the hope, goal, and design with Guilford County. We haven't gotten, in the current climate of 2023, we did receive recent potential obligations to pay HVAC, $250 an hour, which I know for that gym, they don't have HVAC. That being said, we did enter into, at least for the season of the summer, an arrangement where we're able to use it in exchange for the sweat equity and anything else that we've done. We repaired the basketball hoops, we bought new padding in the back, we bought those 2 new huge turbine fans to create a true airflow with the blowers, and then last year we had volunteers come out and paint the entire bottom portion with the red, including getting cleaned up with the Viking logos and whatnot. So this is the hope.
Yeah.
But it's not in stone.
Y'all are doing a heck of a job. You
Yeah.
know, the park's almost went under several times since I've been alive here. And, actually, part of it got sold off one time because of mismanagement. And, that's been a long time. You might not have been born when that happened. But, y'all done a good job. I hadn't been down to the baseball field till just recently, and it's really nice. Y'all are doing a good job with it. It still looks like a country baseball park, which I like. I don't want a professional stadium in Stokesdale for the Little League.
I appreciate.
I want them when they go to the professional parks to go, wow, I don't want to say, man, that's not as good as mine. But,
I love it. Thank you. The kids are just grateful to have a snow cone machine there.
and that waterfall,
Hot dogs.
the waterfall you're talking about, we hiked from sixth graders. When I was in sixth grade, we hiked to that waterfall from Stokesdale School down there for our end of class. So that's going to be great to have a path. There used to actually be one. It was a little logging road, down there.
Yeah.
That'll be super, because we used to go down there swimming, and I wasn't really swimming, more wading, but pretty neat. Great job.
Well, I'll tell you, it's a testament to the community. Again, transplant from California, haven't been here 5 years. It's an absolute joy to have so many people come out of the woodwork, literally and figuratively, to be able to put in their hand to help. So,
If I may, sir, I'm just as old as Jimmy, and he and I both knew the folks that cleared that land and built the original field and what have you. There's a lot of history there, and it's like Jimmy said, there's been some ups and downs with it. I'd like to have, if you have an opinion, I'd like to have your opinion about the participation of our local corporations insofar as donating money to Parks and Rec. Do you find that to be a fruitful endeavor, or are your people approaching them? Or is it an untapped resource? Do you have any opinions?
it depends on who's running our fundraising individually. So when we have a fundraiser, right, currently we have Jason Williams, who's part of the community. Whenever corporations have been asked, they've shown up and delivered, which is great. But they've also, in some of the conversations early on, have inquired proof of concept, what we've done, and seen, they want to see, what's going behind them actually putting in the funds. So a lot of the inertia that we built with the early parts of what we were doing, when we built that playground, we had quite a few local corporations come in and say, yeah, we'd love that. And we ended up doing a gratitude signage that's sitting right next to it with all the names of the corporations, families, and other stuff there. So they've been willing and receptive when asked, and when they see the things are moving in the right direction and not going under.
And certainly, I would hope they would give generously. Are you aware the town of Stokesdale doesn't charge a property tax?
Yep.
And so I have in the past reminded some of them of that fact when we've asked for small donations for various things. And that community seems to be, at least receptive to the idea of supporting the park.
Jordan, you said you need $68,000, but you aren't requesting all of it. What kind of structure are you proposing, or what is your specific request?
Roughly 2-to-1 is my hope. We'll love anywhere between $45,000 and $50,000, leaving us with around 23,000, 18 to 23,000 is what we're going for. My wife and I have a charitable account that we've almost exhausted 70,000 into the program, just with all the infrastructure updates to get everything updated. And
You and your wife?
yeah,
70?
yeah.
Wow.
So, given the larger scale and scope of this, we definitely love. Now, that's not to mention all the folks that have helped out and basically, come with that as well. But there was some early urgent matters, or the program was going to fold after COVID. So,
If I may, is your budget available for any of our citizens that want to see it, or this board?
100%. I do an audit every year. I'm the vice president over at Fidelity Investments in Greensboro, so I live in numbers. Yeah. So they get an audit. They get transparency every year.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Heard that name, okay.
Would you have a program if you did not have lights?
No. Short version, no. Given the history of this community and what they've done, and the experience that they've had, we're the only one in the immediate vicinity that I'm familiar with. I know there's what's the nearest community that's starting to put it up? The lights drive those ball fields, all said and done. When it comes to, for as much as we can do in the day, it's those night games where they're coming in, kids playing, getting concessions, the late after, anything else after. So those are critical.
Are you familiar with working with a government entity and receiving grant money, the type of, just tracking and documentation that is required? I couldn't explain it to you in full here. We do have a town policy and there's North Carolina state statutes. But are you familiar with that? And as a follow-up, would your board be willing to make a vote for the board to make this request and not you as the president?
So I have done preliminary reviews of grant requests 2 years ago when we first started, because we were just trying to see what all could be done from a program standpoint. But having actually gone through the process, I have not. To your second question, 100%. Board will be able to vote.
I don't have any more questions. Mike, you got anything?
If you would, we would like to see the proposal.
Okay.
And I think it's fair to say we'll take this into consideration somehow.
Again, the town, we recently voted on a policy, and we have an application for this sort of thing that Ms. Martin, the town clerk, can fix you up with that, and, that would get it down on paper for everybody to review.
I think Tim's absolutely right, and I think filling that out and some type of resolutions with signatures of the governing board of Stokesdale Parks and Rec, which I know they represent a lot of folks here and do a lot of hard work, but I think that would be a good next step into further advancing this request.
Does Parks and Recreation do any kind of an honorarium, the stadium seats are contributed by such and such? And, I mean, if Mr. Jones was to come up with all this 68, could this become the Mr. Jones baseball field?
I'm pretty sure that's not gonna happen.
We made a plaque. It still has yet to be put up for the humility of Robert Watkins from Freeman Plumbing, but he single-handedly replumbed all those bathrooms, and so we rededicated the facilities and held a little meeting for it. So yes, it's technically, there's precedence there to be done.
And also, I believe the big baseball field is named after Mr. Chris Osborne,
Yes.
who passed in the mid-'80s, who was a Parks and Rec participant.
Yes, and that plaque is still up there.
Do I have the name correct, Jimmy?
Yeah.
Chris, okay, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, that, yeah. If I heard you right, you might ought to have a plaque. At least.
That's a nice chunk of change coming off the hip,
Heck, yeah.
Yeah.
even if you do work for Fidelity.
Yeah.
Work,
Yeah.
you know, that, yeah. I mean, you know, you need a plaque.
I mean, I can't dispute the need is there. I can't dispute that the leadership of that organization's done a fantastic job. I would be happy to, work with you further, to get this proposal. I would recommend that you have meetings with, these guys too. And really, this needs to come back, I would say, to the town council in a regularly scheduled town council meeting, because this is a special called meeting, which is the second Thursday of every month. Because we'll be ratifying the budget in June, I recommend you do it soon. Probably the second Thursday, no later than the second Thursday of June. I think everything you've spoken to has a lot of merit. This is kind of uncharted territory for our little town, but,
It's a worthy cause.
whereas other towns do pay the maintenance and upkeep of a baseball field, we don't do that. And I know you guys have maintenance and upkeep and taxes and all that, all the things.
Or community service helpers to
Right.
keep those bathrooms clean.
Right. So I really appreciate you coming up here. I think there's some follow-up steps to be done. Ms. Martin, if you can share your email address with Jordan, or if y'all have a card, so you can get him that policy and application.
Jordan, we will have a regular council meeting if you're up to it next Thursday.
Yes.
We will have it if you're up to it,
Yeah.
but as Derek said, by the second Thursday in June.
Thank you.
To be here next Thursday, to be ready, you're gonna, that document from the entire governing board, the signature and their ratification of this request is important. So it's, no offense to you, but just so it's not coming from the president.
Given the ups and downs of this program, the more the merrier from a transparency standpoint. Because having gone through the finances years back, yeah, part of what we ended up reestablishing as we meet on a basis is full and necessary understanding around the fiscal part of it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very important. I hate to hear that y'all had these struggles. I know COVID was hard on a lot of people. It sounds like it hit the Parks and Rec checkbook pretty hard too.
It was having a little problem before COVID, wasn't it?
There were multiple situations without going into further detail.
Yeah, I understand. Well, y'all have done a good job. That place has been a centerpiece for life around this town for years, and it's a good cause. Just
Yeah, I still remember coming down the first time, you don't even know it's there. And then you turn a corner and all of a sudden, my goodness, we did a community cleanup day for all those trees that have fallen back there. And there was nowhere close to enough chainsaws to get that done, so we had to get in the big guns. The amount of interesting and curious one-off things found in that little hidden forest there was they've been there for a long time.
Right.
It's, there's just a lot of positive history, legacy, and given the state of COVID, what I do is if the kids have a normal experience as much as possible, not that I ever hope that something ever happens again like happened in the beginning of this decade, but if they're going to the fields and they're none the wiser of who's running the behind the scenes, then we did our job. So
yep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Foy?
Kim, before I rudely interrupted, we were just getting started about the general fund. And Tim, I was saying that everything looked good in terms of, I believe that Kim had captured the recommendations and changes we talked about in the April meeting. In that also I verified, because I wasn't able to just glance and look at it, I verified that she did include the 3% cost of living adjustment in these salaries. With that, I had a conversation with Ms. Martin today, and we were talking about our developmental ordinance and the new 160D. and our need to really codify the book that we have. Am I using the word correctly? I'm better off turning it over to you if you wouldn't mind speaking and just sharing our conversation.
I think I've spoken with most of you individually anyway. We have the Stokesdale Development Ordinance. After I retired in 15, there was a major piece that was changed to all development ordinances throughout the state. It's referred to as 160D. Mr. Oliver Bass had referred to it on several occasions and even in his staff report. So on my part, I assumed that it had been adopted by Stokesdale. But apparently, according to Mr. Snyder, it has not been adopted. It's going to be some significant changes to the development ordinance that you have. I talked with Municipal Code, which is the organization that does a lot of codes across the town, which did Stokesdale's originally. And after talking with them on several occasions, they feel it would be better for us to do a complete recodification of what we already have as opposed to doing 3 or 4 supplements right now. And then once we completely go through the 160D regulations and see what's got to be changed, do a second one. They're both going to be very expensive. And so they recommend we do it all at one time over the course of this next year and do a recodification instead of a series of supplements to that. And she gave me an estimate today of about $20,000. And also, another piece of that, the general statutes require once you reach a population of 5,000, you're required to have all your ordinances codified. And unfortunately, Stokesdale does not have that.
What does that mean?
That means all your general ordinances, includes development ordinances, but your water, any other, like your speed limits, all of this general stuff that doesn't go into the development ordinance has to be codified. And she estimates that to write from scratch. And it'll also include our attorney quite a bit. An estimate about $20,000 to do that. That was one of the last projects I did in Kernersville. We did a complete rewrite. Typically what happens once you do a series of supplements over about 4 or 5 years, and then you do a rewrite to keep it all up to date so that anybody and everybody will have the most current information. In Kernersville, when I did that in 2015, it was about $36,000 is what it cost Kernersville then. So $20,000 is probably very reasonable for Stokesdale because you don't have all the different departments. But you do have water, you do set speed limits, you do, just trying to think right off the top of my head, any other general ordinance that you have on the books has to be codified.
So, Ms. Martin, did you say you have a written proposal from Municode?
I do not. We have talked on several occasions, and I told her today, really needed just a ballpark figure that we were doing our budget.
Okay.
So how would it work? I'm sorry, Tim.
If I may.
So I don't have anything in writing yet.
Time goes by pretty fast in
It
this
does.
world for an old fellow like me. I feel like we just did this.
Well,
And so, just to pacify Tim Jones, I wonder if staff at your convenience could find the last vote we made to hire Municode and dig up that proposal.
it was 2018.
You already know where it's at?
Well,
I'd like to see maybe one copy put out in the breezeway so we can all look at it and kind of, that'll give us some clue about what we've done in the past and what it's going to
copy
look like
of
going
the
forward.
development code, is that what you wanted?
The proposal from Municode.
Okay, I've not seen the proposal. I'm just going by based on talking to Municode and the supplements that we have. There's not been any.
I was on the council that voted to codify our development ordinance and hire Municode to do it, what we're currently using. And what I'm saying is I would like to review that old paperwork and those minutes to kind of see how we handled that, how much it cost. And see if we can gain any insight about how to go forward from looking at what we did previously, if you see what I'm saying.
Yes, I have a file on Municode, and I'm sure a lot of that's in there, so we'll definitely do that. So you tell me what you want me to do. I mean, the code has not been updated since 2018.
Find the previous vote that council made to spend money with Municode and find their proposal that we
Yes, it was
voted on.
2018. And
I want to see it, and I think it may help these guys to see it.
If it had been, Ms. Dale, if it had been codified in 2018, are you saying it would still need to be recodified?
each time you do a text amendment to that, it has to be included in that language.
Right.
And so I know there's been, I think, 3 just since I've been here, several done right at the same time, that spring, right after I started. So I know that needs to be done. And then 160D was very significant. And the general statutes, I don't have the language in front of me, but I can find it, said that all municipalities that handle any type of zoning, planning matters, you're supposed to adopt that 160D regulations.
And when you say 160D, you mean North Carolina General Statute 160D, correct?
Yes.
Correct. Just
And,
making sure I
and you,
understand.
you've got to adopt that, and it's gonna change our development ordinance. And that's not been done from what I understand.
So what you're saying is regardless of whether it was codified in 2018, we still need to do that and the other that you were talking about?
Yes.
The 220,000, so we'd need to do
Yes.
both of them even if it had been codified?
Yes. We could do a series of supplements to do the 3 or 4 text amendments that I know have happened. And then we could do another supplement with 160D. But to save on attorney review fees from both municipal code and our attorney, it does make a lot more sense to do it all at one time,
Right.
as opposed to a series of supplements and have them, do it all at one time. But her estimate today was gonna be around $20,000 to do all of that.
To do all of it? Now, I was seeing here in two $20,000.
Well, that's one piece of the puzzle.
Right.
The other piece is your general ordinances are also supposed to be codified. And you don't have that at all.
And those amounts would not include whatever we might have to pay the town attorney or.
That's correct.
Or another attorney, that we may have to hire.
That's correct.
So,
It would include municipal code has attorneys, and they will review it as well. It's how extensive we would want Mr. Winfrey or the town attorney for Stokesdale to look at that as well.
in looking backwards at what we've already done, do you feel like it was done properly? I mean, we
Yes.
haven't completely headed off on the
No,
wrong direction, have we?
yeah, no, I think it's
okay.
done, it was, municipal code is top-notch, and it was done properly. It's just not been updated. Moving forward, you really should do a supplement at least once or twice a year. Most municipalities do it every quarter. Small as Stokesdale is, I'd recommend at least once a year. Maybe a year we have to do 2, but at least once a year to bring all your ordinances. Anytime you do a text amendment, anytime you do a change in your speed limits, anytime you do any change in your water specs, any of that sort of stuff, it has to be codified. And so the more you do, the more supplements you have to do. But you need to have all of that in one place. And you're required to have it by the general statute.
Does that include the zoning map? Would the zoning map, when we make a change, like if there's a
Yes,
rezoning?
your
and
zoning
change?
map is part of your development ordinance, yes.
So that would fall in?
Yes.
In with that. If we started today, how long do you think it would take to get that done? I know
Well,
we're not gonna start today, but I'm just,
I've gone through most of the minutes from 2018, and so I'm pretty comfortable with what we've got there, but I have not looked at 160D, to be honest with you. It was after I came, it was adopted in 2020, and so I am not familiar with it. I'm just going based on what Mr. Snyder said and what Ms. Bywaters from Municipal Code and I have talked about on several occasions. It's significant changes.
I do recall Mr. Medlin saying that he had reviewed all the 160D and thought that we were in line to that. I either have it in my email or he said it in a meeting. I vividly remember it.
I seem to recall the same thing.
And I know that it's specified on our attorney bills. If you went to go look back, call it the fall of 2020.
Well, we'll make sure before we do any changes, but
Well, I
talking
don't
to
doubt we need to
Mr.
change.
Snyder, he said he did not think we had adopted anything here, so.
He just arrived, though. I wonder if he might have missed something.
Yeah, it's.
So what you're
entirely
saying, we
possible.
need to have some money in the budget just in case we need to do this, correct?
Yes,
Right now, don't we have an emergency contingent?
Yeah, I've actually made the adjustments already because we had this discussion, Dale and I, and then I knew that she had discussed it with you as well. I did not make the adjustments inside the budget yet because it needed to be discussed. But if we move 22-3 from the contingency funds, which is item number 90,500, that would be 22,300. I also looked at lawn care and outdoor maintenance. Our regular fees are $2,000 a month just for our regular lawn care, and then Hunter Enterprises would be $12,000 a year. So that's $36,000. If we took the remaining $17,700 from that, that still leaves us an additional $6,300 in the lawn and outdoor care if we need mulch or whatever.
Hunter's more than that, isn't it? I thought they were $1,200 a month.
No,
Hunter? Are they 12,000 a year?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
I don't know why I was
12,000 a
thinking that.
It's $3,000 a quarter.
Okay, good. Well, I was, okay, that's great.
Yeah, so if the money's there, if you guys decided, to do it or,
I'm good with the 20. Do you think we would have enough time in next fiscal year to fully do the book? Is that what you're saying would be the second 20?
I'm sure we can get that done. I would hope we could get the code done. It depends on how fast y'all want to move with some of these other projects that you've got us working on, but yes, I would, yes.
So, Kim, we were conservative on the investment earnings of 77.
yes, we were. That's just me being conservative.
I like it. What if you took 3.3%? Right now, we're getting 3.75. What if you just took 3.3
Gosh, I don't have,
of the CDRs?
bear with me, guys. I knew I should have had that with me. While I'm looking this email up, I do want to bring to your attention, there was one thing, it's my wrong email, sorry. Under the public safety, I was supposed to move $1,000 from the fire inspection and investigation and put into a category 9050 public safety for the school, for the deputy, and I did not move that. The money's there, I just need to categorize. The money's under public safety, I just need to take it out of the fire inspection and investigation. I just wanted you guys to be aware
Yep.
of that.
Is that just
I wanna-
Just 1,000?
Yeah, the fact you guys said 1,000.
I want to make a motion that we, put that in and specify it for the school safety guard, for I can't believe that we didn't do that,
Yeah, we did it last time.
and I don't know why, I don't understand that.
I think in my mind, we were looking for some wiggle room, just in case we're able to cover this. I've got several residents that would contribute to this.
Well, I understand that, and that's great that you do, but the money will be there, they will be assured, we won't have to worry about it. I mean, if they do donate to it, that's great. And if they don't, then we'll put the money back in the bank. We'll come up with a plus.
Could you repeat your motion?
And my motion is to dedicate this to the sheriff that's gonna do the traffic control
To
for
the
the first
elementary
week of
school
school.
safety.
I just don't see no reason not to do that. And if we get the money, we can put it back in the bank,
All right, second.
designate it.
Any discussion?
To recap what I said last time, I understand Jimmy's position and, you know, no big argument from me, but I come from the days in the older council when we were funding the supplemental contract with Guilford County for a deputy that just became unbearably expensive. That deputy was spending some time at the school, not saying they weren't deriving benefit. Again, I remain very aggravated at Guilford County for taking our sales tax distribution money away from us. Commissioners that won't discuss any plan to get it back to us, including our own area rep. And by extension of that, the school board that previously, basically what I think, took a hostile action by failing to appoint the nominee selected by the Guilford County Republicans that was legally prevented from taking his seat, that being Michael Logan. And so those are where my reservations lie. They have nothing to do with Jimmy Landreth. But I'm just concerned that we'll go from $1,000 to $10,000 to what would be $100,000 for a deputy, because the old contract was $82,000 to replace that contract would be at least $100,000. And first thing you know, we're supplementing the Guilford County Sheriff's Department along with everybody else. It aggravates me that our citizens don't get their due. They're, you know, our citizens are members of Guilford County just like anybody else in the county. And so it's a frustration for me personally to see this going on, our citizens treated this way.
Well, I agree with about everything you said, but the bottom line is, Guilford County Commissioner's not gonna give them the money to do it. The school board's not gonna give them the money to do it. The sheriff's not gonna do it. And we probably will get donations for it, if Mike has something set up, but I don't want the principal to even have to worry about it. I don't want them to have to worry about it. It's there, they know it's there, and they can plan and get on down the road. And if the money comes in, then we'll put it back in the bank.
Yeah, but my objection is not the amount. It's not,
Well, I have the same objections.
yeah, so.
I agree 100%.
So anyway, those are where my concerns lie.
But this is just a piece of the puzzle for the school, and you know, after some of the stuff's went on in the town, I wanna, that's a guarantee that the sheriff's gonna be sitting up there the first week. Whether anybody gives any money or they do get their obligations in Guilford County or whatever, it's there. And, so,
Dale, do you understand?
that's the way I feel.
Do you understand the motion?
Well, I hope so, because I don't even
The
remember.
motion is to set aside $1,000 that Kim is talking about for public safety around the elementary school at the beginning of the school year. Is that it? Is that it, Jimmy?
It's for the sheriff to direct traffic.
And this
The
is,
motion is to have a line item for the subsidy to the Guilford County Sheriff's Department to provide a service that I think the citizens are already paying for.
Well, that's not exactly what I said, but you're correct. I mean, that's right. I mean, but,
I think in your original
did you get my original
discussion,
motion? The way I
the
said it?
original discussion and your resolution talked about, it was, I'm trying to remember, like the first week of school?
Yeah.
Well, yes, it's
There
for
a
the
time limit on this as
first week
well?
of school
Okay, and
for a deputy to direct traffic. And we're gonna pay up to $1,000. I mean, if they wanna get a more expensive deputy, that's fine. They, you know, are less expensive. I think she said $800 or something when they came in. But they did come in and ask, and it's no sense in having them have to come back and ask, if somebody had said something about having them come back and ask for it again. They've already came. And there's no sense in sitting there 30 minutes with an attorney sitting there at so much an hour and talking about it. Let's get it done and put it on there, and we'll cut the check when if they need it. And if it don't need it or whatever, then we can put the money back in the bank and be done with it.
Mr. Foy seconded it. Yes. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Foy?
Aye.
Mr. Rigsby? Mr. Landry? God bless. Well, at least they didn't call you Winfrey.
That sounded just like it.
Sorry, Jimmy. Mr. Landry. Mr. Jones.
I'm
And
gonna,
I'm sorry.
excuse me, Can I vote?
Yeah, I thought you did.
Due to the high regard I hold Mr. Lander, if I'm gonna bend all the way out there, almost to the breaking point and vote aye for this, but I don't like it.
Hey, I don't need,
And I'll vote aye.
So it carries.
Okay, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So exactly what am I calling this category?
And also, one question I had, is it just for morning, or is it morning and whatever they need?
they said they needed,
All they did
when they
was
came, they
morning.
said they needed
All they did was
somewhere around $800, $1,000, so they got $1,000, and they need it morning, night, whatever they needed at the first week of school. That's what it's for. You know, that's what they asked for, and that's what we're giving. And I hate that they're not getting it where they should be getting it, but, cause we don't, you know, we don't have the police department, the fire department, everything under our wings like a lot of towns do. So we'll have to make up the slack for it, so.
Traffic control, deputy
Get-
traffic
get-
control?
If I may make a suggestion, Guilford County Sheriff's Department, school traffic, control or management.
That's the
I think what
category.
Tim said's perfect.
Yeah, that's fine, that's great.
Guilford, okay, Guilford
As
County,
long as it's denoted to that, that's fine. To the school.
Guilford County Sheriff's Department. What was the rest of that?
Traffic management.
Traffic control,
That's it. That's it.
air traffic. Traffic control. Okay, I'll put it in there.
Thank
When I
you.
email everything out, if somebody says we should change it, then that's fine. Okay. Okay, where am I? Back to answer your question, Mr. Foy. $8,000 is what the investment earnings went to 85,000, so we went up 8,000.
Okay.
So I added that to the 22.3, which gave us 30,300. It's under contingency at this point. Do we want to make a line item for this, or do you want me to put this under,
Hold on. You're at 33,000, you're at 30,300?
yes, I added 8,000 to investments,
And then took the
and I
contingent?
offset it by 8 and put it under contingency for now. That's gonna be for the codes books. So we had 22.3, and I added 8 to that. That gives us now 30,300.
I'm following you.
Okay.
So we need another 9,700.
So-
And if you took that from the 60,000 for
Yes.
lawn and maintenance and made that 50,300, that would get Dale the 40?
If I reduce 96, when I gotta find my lawn care up here. There it is. I need a calculator. Can you put that in the budget, please? Get me a calculator. No, I'm joking. Let's move here.
What you need?
It's okay, I got my phone.
Sure.
Well, that puts us at 39.9, so I need another $100.
All right, well,
I'm just gonna take it from,
lawn and maintenance.
yeah, yeah.
So we're-
Should have been 9,700 instead of 9,600.
Okay,
Sorry, yeah.
I said 97 then.
I thought you said 96.
Robbie, if you
It's
could
okay.
reference the tape after.
Potatoes, it's okay.
So that in itself, the investment earnings were at 3.75 right now, and you just did 3.3.
I did we've got in the bank, in just the general fund itself. Let me get back over here to my email. Not that email. I have too many emails.
E-
2,583,867.
Okay,
So I took that at 3.3.
but that's still conservative. 3.3 is still less
You're
than.
correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Then I'm still good with 50,300 for the park and landscaping upkeep. That gives us an extra 14,000 above the contract for some additional work like mulch, if council decides to do that next year.
Correct.
Okay, and then the last thing we would move what was designated as
The public safety.
emergency contingency.
Oh, yes.
So those three things, and then if we created a new category for
Code books,
development ordinance update,
development ordinance.
I would call it Town of Stokesdale Code of Ordinances updates, because
Okay.
it would include both pieces, the development ordinance and the town code.
okay, so code of ordinance update,
Yes.
Code of ordinance.
okay.
Okay.
Then I have a motion. Make a motion that we create a new line item and put it under the category of general administrative expenses. That new line item should be called, what did you say, Dale? I flipped my page here.
Code of ordinance.
Code of ordinance in the amount of $40,000, and that we increase investment earnings from $77,000 to $85,000, that we decrease lawn and maintenance from $60,000 to $50,300,
Right.
and that we remove the emergency contingency amount of $30,300.
40,000.
Say what?
Well, it was a total 40. I moved, it's gonna be a
Okay.
total 40.
That still gets you a balanced budget,
Absolutely, I'm balanced.
and that,
Zero.
that gives us what Dale believes the town needs to do this. This is not an authorization to do this, that my motion's not, it's just to simply get in the budget. I think from there, we've gotta do some legwork. I've got questions such as, why did Mr. Medlin say that we're good? And I've gotta go dig through emails or meetings, because I know he said it.
Yeah, I know we did too. And we got Tim's concerns too.
And the invoices show it. But this
In
is just
that-
the first step.
If that is the case, then we'll only have the 3 text amendments, I think it's 3, maybe 4, that were done in 2021, and it won't be anywhere near 20,000, if that's the case.
Well, that's good, but this gets it in the budget.
Yes,
That's right.
just in case.
Administrative expense.
I remember it too. I mean, yeah, it's in the budget, so,
Yeah,
And that's gonna be,
I guess I just need a second.
yeah, well, I'll second.
Okay.
Okay, so I've got a motion and I've got a second. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Foy?
Aye.
Mr. Winfrey? I'm just picking. Mr. Lantra? Did you hear what I said?
I heard you.
I'm just picking. Mr. Lantra?
I don't know if you're in that good a shape to be picked like it. Aye.
traffic control.
And Mr. Jones?
Aye.
And I am also aye. Where are we?
I don't have any more questions about the general fund. Does anybody else?
Anybody else have any?
I do have some things for the water, Kim.
Oh, boy.
In about 3 or 4 months ago, we incorporated what I believe are plan review inspection fees to developers. I think we need to add a revenue line item that says such. Plan review inspection fee.
Plan review. Inspection fee under revenue. Okay.
I would, Tim's closer to this than me, but I would go relatively low at $5,000. What do you think, Tim?
Didn't we hoist it?
Probably. But by the way, I'm just asking a question. Should our, the fees for subdivisions outside of our jurisdiction, say for South Rockingham or even Stokes County, be higher for plan review and inspections? The question that comes to mind.
I think it's a good question for the attorney. Certainly, we can charge rates for sale of water at a higher rate. I'm not sure about this.
Are we selling any in Rockingham County? We're just, for Forsyth, that's,
Not in Rockingham County. We're selling it in Forsyth.
that's what,
We will be soon. I don't think it can be stopped.
in Rockingham?
Yeah, that's what I would predict.
I mean, it's reasonable to believe that.
Really?
It's reasonable to believe it. I'm not saying that I'm for it, but it's reasonable. If we're gonna have a water line that runs to the county line, and we've already got one already.
So we're gonna sell water to Rockingham County?
No, I'm just saying it's reasonable to believe it'll happen if you look into the future. I wish I would have kept my mouth shut.
Yeah, I do too.
Let's have a little.
I'm just thinking,
I
you know,
meant what I said.
yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying.
So we'll address that later, but I'm just saying to get ready.
Well,
And I'm not sure that $1,500 is enough, but I mean, you know, I don't wanna be accused of gouging developers, but on the other hand, we got a lot of expenses here.
I think it was I looked at another town and they were like a couple $100 a lot, so I don't think we're too expensive.
Okay,
So do I need to put a plan review inspection fee? And then. Here's what I found. And then put sub underneath there,
No,
South County, and, I mean, you want me to separate it that way with the revenue?
we don't know if it's legal yet or not.
okay, so no.
That's, we're gonna follow up later. We've raised the question, but we don't know the answer.
And then add $5,000 or,
We're budgeting $5,000
Okay.
in projected income.
okay. I need to get that in here somewhere for right now.
That's as good a guess as I've got.
Plan review.
secondly, my suggestion would be under the expense line item that we have another budget line item that for plan review and inspection. I think that should be separated out from engineering and infrastructure consulting. I think that's more of an operational function, and engineering and consultant is, I just looking at it, is different.
How much is that you're proposing
Okay, I didn't-
to take out?
I don't know, Tim. I mean, what do you think? 15?
So right here, engineering and infrastructure.
Should be less now.
He wants to do a new line item that says plan review.
Okay, underneath there.
My opinion is we should always have money in the budget in case we have engineering consulting needs for our water system. We really don't know exactly what the future holds, but it's always been a need, and it's always
Absolutely.
been money expended for that.
Absolutely. And I think that we should keep that there. My suggestion, and if I'm off base, I mean, please tell me, but my suggestion is to have a separate line item strictly for plan review fees or plan review performed by an engineer, but to separate that out from engineering and consultant on the general system itself.
I think the term engineering consulting is appropriate to utilize for that.
Okay.
To set aside, but we are anticipating a project to install an aerator in our tank, electronic controls for our PRV valve, a water main extension, and then we're actively working on the Ellisboro Road project. So all of those, there are opportunities and possible needs for, if problems crop up or
Absolutely. And
we'll need
I would contend,
consults.
I would contend that that money come from special revenue funds for the grant.
Yeah, and I forgot, you know, I want to get our valves geolocated, and council would help me remember to take care of that. We haven't started on that, but, you know, the warm season is here, and we don't have a proposal in front of us from anybody. I don't know what a first step would look like with that.
All right, well, that's a good idea. Well, what about, since we added $5,000 in revenue, scratch the idea about creating a separate line item. What if we just increase the engineering and infrastructure consulting expenses from 50 to 55,000 to ensure we still operate under a balanced budget?
That's fine.
Yeah.
Are we going to get to reviewing the fee schedule? We haven't done that already. I'm concerned that inflation being what it is, everything's doubled, and yet at the same time, we're still using the old pricing structure. if we're the cheapest facility within 50 miles, I don't want us to draw, too big a crowd to the point where it squeezes out our local residents.
Well, I'm good with the water fund if you guys are, and then we can move to discuss that.
So are we good with, are you guys good with everything else?
I
on
believe
water?
so.
I am, yes.
Oh,
I'm just asking the questions, don't nobody shoot me here. Are we okay to do this discussion, the fee schedule?
Oh, I think it falls under the budget.
It's all under the budget?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
It's a
all
good
right,
question, yeah.
Just wanna make sure.
Well, I think it's a good question, but
okay, so we're balanced in the water and we are also balanced in the general. I have made the changes that was requested. I actually added the line item plan review inspection fee, 5,000 in revenue. I added 5,000 to engineering and infrastructure consulting to make that 55. We are balanced. So if we're good, then moving on.
Thank you, Kim.
Okay. Yes, auto save is on. Get the fee schedule out.
Somebody want to open up the discussion on the fees?
I have one suggestion that, these lost keys, so anytime somebody would have a key, is if like an HOA group wanted to come or an organization wanted to rent out this room at night,
Yeah, that's correct.
I'd like to suggest that we take the $100 as a deposit, as incentive
To get the key back?
to get the key back.
It's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea at all.
What key are they getting?
Key to the front door.
The front door?
But that's
Does
it,
that-
right?
Does that key work to the, going into the clerks, back
you
to
know,
back?
we're making sure that that's just the front door key, right? They're not getting access anywhere else.
No, it does not.
Correct. It just opens the front door.
Just the front door, that's all that key works.
Yeah. Just the front door, and it also has a key that you can use to pop the front door so that it stays unlocked.
Yeah.
That's all.
Have we had a lost key before? Huh? Well, all I'm saying is, when you lose a key, you really ought to change your lock. Absolutely. So how much that cost?
That's easy, couple of $100. These are not your standard locks.
I'm just saying, if you
Easily
lose a key,
couple $100.
Somebody's got it or something.
Here's the problem too. Not only do you lose that key, every other key that everybody else has got to be replaced.
Correct.
So you figure these keys are probably, I don't know, $7, $8 a piece. There's 5 of us. We got all these folks.
I don't know if it'd be
Well, the good thing
necessary.
is nobody's ever lost a key.
We have master keys. I'm not sure if it would necessitate them being replaced or not versus just changes to the, I'm presuming here that there's, like a 7-pin lock versus a 5-pin, and the two extra pins are the master. I don't know how they do that, but I don't recall myself ever having to deal with a lost key scenario down here either.
So we're giving an alarm code out.
No,
No.
No.
no, we leave it off.
Let's just stop there.
We're talking about fees, so,
Yeah, I understand. I'll explain myself later to you, Jimmy.
okay, all right. All right, no problem.
I'm just in looking at this thing, I don't know what a fair price is for volleyball courts, for the ball fields, for the picnic shelters. Again, I want us to be somewhere up the middle with this. Otherwise, my thought is that we will have people traveling great distances to use our ball field or our picnic shelter, and they'll crowd out our locals if we're cheap enough. Mr. Ford, you see my point?
I absolutely see your point.
We don't want to become a mecca for the low end provider for ball fields and, volleyball courts.
If I were to confront someone down there that was playing on the volleyball court, what verification would they have that they've paid their fee?
Well, they can use it for a free play type of scenario at any time. These fees we charge for organized, teams and,
So if I just go play volleyball, there's no expense?
No expense.
Okay, I got you.
You would be the first person in 5 years to do it.
let us know when you're going
I'll
to.
pay to come watch you.
Yeah.
If someone comes in and pays Ms. Hunsucker a fee for one of these items, whether it's a shelter or a ball field or whatever, she does a receipt
Okay, all
and
right,
gives
that's
them
what I
a
was
copy
after.
of that receipt.
I would, if
We-
for some reason the town in the future does have basketball or pickleball courts, I would want to add these to this, but I don't think it's appropriate right now.
And I will let this council know two things here that you may not be aware of. In the past, the town has experienced scenarios where we've had a large crowd using the soccer field that was not an organized, league or anything, refusing to give up the field and having to call the sheriff's department and go through that. It hasn't happened in a long time. The other scenario that has occurred is, teams from, Greensboro, High Point, Winston-Salem, miles and miles away, wanting to rent the fields for a protracted period of time, like over a weekend, and then we have a scenario where we might have a nonprofit that's trying to make a spread on what they pay the town of Stokesdale versus what they charge the teams to come and play. Do you see what I'm saying? And we've had to puzzle through that scenario before. And so there again, at least my goal, anybody can use our facility and all, but basically we go through all this, for our local residents and make sure that local kids have access to it, et cetera, et cetera. And so oddly enough, we hadn't had any difficulty in a long time, to my knowledge, with those scenarios. But so can we, look at bumping this $10 an hour up and $15 an hour up, to adjust for inflation, something reasonable, and I don't know what that number might be. Everything I'm buying is up 50% to 100%. So it doesn't make sense to leave this the same. That's all I'm saying.
Well, we haven't, I mean, the soccer fields have not cost, I agree with the non-resident. I'd like to leave the resident where it's at, but non-resident, I wouldn't mind going up some.
Well, the soccer fields, we spend a lot of money maintaining them.
I know.
The picnic shelters don't seem to cost as much money proportionally, and they don't seem to get a lot of use.
Would y'all like for the staff to look at all the surrounding communities and prepare a spreadsheet of some sort? What's currently been charged by these other municipalities? Send it out to you?
Wouldn't be bad.
That's a good idea.
It is a good idea, Ms.
Not opposed to that.
Most of it's.
And my other point of contention is that I really don't think we should be allowing the use of this room at no fee to anybody.
This room,
The one we're in, the community room.
I disagree. I think HOA should have access.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I mean, that's fine, if you let me finish. I mean, I tend to be outvoted on this. At one time, we were charging everybody, but we're offering free space, so that's gonna increase the traffic in. The traffic adds to the wear and tear, the cleaning, the water usage, cleaning the bathrooms, the whole 9 yards. Some of these HOA meetings I see take place here where there's 6, 7 people. I just kind of wonder why they don't meet in their own homes, their garage, or wherever, and relieve us the load. They're doing it because it's convenient and it's because it's free. If you offer a free service to somebody, then that has a tendency to grow into more and more customers. And also, maybe I was the only one that heard it, but Mr. Medlin also expressed a legal concern that he didn't think it was, he didn't recommend us offering nonprofits a no-fee place to meet versus charging non-residents. The verification of who's non-resident versus resident. If one in the group lives in town, does that qualify? Or if their first cousin lives in town, does that qualify? I don't know. But anyhow, I'd just like to see us at least getting a couple of dollars a head or something instead of just the idea of free. And so those are my thoughts. I'm not gonna make a motion to that effect, but I'm pretty sure I'll lose.
Anything else in the fees?
So staff's going to, look at all these fees,
They're gonna survey
rooms and all that.
the surrounding towns.
Can I point out a couple?
Sure.
The street and easement closing on the second page, you're currently charging $250 for that. Out beside it, I put the last one we did over here was, what was it, street down here? Yeah, that little piece back here in Angel Glen. I'm backwards.
The one that was, the road that we closed.
Adonna?
Yeah,
Well, yeah.
whatever that street name was. That one actually cost us $1,357.46 for the advertisement alone. So the
Alone?
$250 is extremely low.
I'll make a motion that we change, street and easement closings to $1,500 per case.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion?
Wait. She is not finished.
Yeah, that 13 didn't include any staff time, did it?
No, that's just the cost of putting that in the News and Record.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
How much staff time you reckon it took? How many hours?
Well, we submitted it to the state, took a little bit of back and forth with them to get it through, get the paperwork, have you all to vote on it and sign it. So,
I mean, that's $1,500 is very reasonable. I mean, you're not trying, it's not we're trying to make any money, we're just trying to break even.
The attorney reviewed it as well. So.
yes, that's correct. The attorney reviewed it
Actually,
before we
probably
submitted it.
takes more than that then, doesn't it?
Jimmy, there are events where private individuals and small companies are removing easements on their property, utility easements, various things. I hesitate to support too big a bump here, when we turn around and give on the other end in every direction. But I'd just kind of like to split the difference with this, more like 500 or 600 or something like that.
Can we advertise anywhere else besides Greensboro? If it's cheaper? Can we advertise in Kern? I mean, what's the law on that?
Guilford County introduced a bill, and I don't have the dates in front of me, a couple years ago that has allowed online advertisement. And Robbie and I have talked about that. I would like to bring something to you all, but I've got to get my homework done first. No other municipalities in Guilford County have jumped on that except for Guilford County. But there has been legislation that does allow municipalities to advertise online. There's still going to be a charge, but it won't be as much.
Who's it online with? Greensboro News?
It would, yeah, the rule is it has to be a general publication in your municipality or in your area, at least, I think it's once a week or something like that.
So Northwest Observer don't work because they're twice.
On some things, but now for like a zoning case, it has to be 2 consecutive weeks. No more than 25 days and no less than 10 days. So that knocks Northwest Observer out for stuff like that.
So we can advertise this now online, and what kind of a savings will we have, you think?
I don't know. There is a cost for online. It's not like for the paper, printed paper, but I've not actually looked at the bill and compared it, so I don't
You
know.
think
I'm
it
sorry.
might be half?
Probably.
All right, well,
Probably.
then that would
But-
justify Tim's.
But Mr. Lander, it doesn't, you can't do it in all cases. Well, you could, well, I have to back up. I need to do my homework because I don't know all the answers yet, but, you possibly could do it online in all cases. I'll have to recant that.
All right, I'll amend my motion to $700 per case. Jimmy, would you accept that?
Yes, I will. Yes, I will. That's good.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Discussion? Mr. Foy,
Aye.
Mr. Landrith,
Aye.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
and I am also aye.
And then, Ms. Martin, if you could find out, in the next month or so, if we could do the online,
I'm sorry to interrupt.
okay?
We've got to get the internet back on. It's come out from the floor. It come out from the thing down here.
Okay.
Give us
Okay.
1 second, I'm
She
sorry.
break it.
We got to?
She broke it.
Well, don't it have to be on the internet?
We're gonna have to
I
put
don't
that in the budget now.
Yeah, we still got it.
We legally obligated to stop. I don't mind stopping, but
I
in case
mean,
it comes
it's-
up again.
Just want to let you know the internet's not.
Yeah, thank you, I hear you.
If you could just let us know if
I will.
street closure, if that's a proper advertising venue for that, or easement closing.
Yes, I will.
All right. Water usage fees. My guess is that we'll see a modest increase from Winston-Salem Forsyth County Utilities on how much we pay. Last year it was a 3% increase. I haven't seen that figure for this year. They made that decision in May of last year. They may have already made a decision. Historically, they do a modest increase every year, except for a COVID year. But I don't have any data to make any recommendations that the water usage fee change.
I don't know if it's on here or anything. We've been having some water stealing going on,
Yeah.
and quite a bit lately. Are we able to put a fine on that or anything?
We can't, but
But we need to do something. I mean, we done had somebody lie to us today.
Why couldn't we do a fine?
No, I'm not saying why can't we, how can we?
No, I'm asking Mike the question.
I think it's controlled by the sheriff's department, if I'm not mistaken, but
No, we can find them. I think the money has to go to the schools, if I remember correctly. Does anybody know if that sounds right? Have we done that? I can't remember.
Tim pointed out to me too, tampering with these things is breaking the law.
It's breaking federal law.
Well, I mean, they mess something up.
Federal? Yeah, well, as Tim said earlier today, if you don't screw those caps back on right,
Well, there are some concerns. We quite often have sent Yates Construction or somebody behind these people to check and make sure everything was in good order with the hydrant that they were tapping into.
Recording in progress.
But it's just basic safety. If somebody's got a hose hooked to one of our hydrants and going into a vehicle, you don't know what they're doing.
Well, they could have chemicals in it, anything could happen.
Yeah.
not every hose would necessarily have a siphon breaker on it either. They did a backflow into our water system.
No, none of them do, but we have a bulk water policy. There's no reason why they can't use it, and these little amounts of water, I mean, I don't know if I'd almost give them free water at my house if they just leave our fire hydrants alone. It's just not that hard to find somebody to get a couple of 100 gallons of water from.
Agreed. Everything else seems to be in line. I do think, as part of the Department of Water Infrastructure grant, one of the permitted uses for, I think, a portion of that, the $100,000 portion was a fee study. So,
Yes, that would, I think we haven't gotten too deep into that in a long, long time. That would probably be appropriate.
and also looking at system development fees, which I think ours are way too low, but I digress on that, and maybe an engineer can do that. I have one more thing. Are we done with fees?
Unless you have something, go.
The special revenue funds,
Yes.
I like that they're all separated here. I think we just add some verbiage about what tentative plans were, to expend this money, or to expend this money.
In, on the spreadsheet or in the budget message, yes?
Well, I think it can be incorporated in the budget message too. I think it would be deceiving to leave it out of the budget message. And in no way, shape, or form do I think we'll spend all the money in the special revenue funds next year. But there's no doubt we'll have some expenditures next year. I'd like to see an example of how other towns document their special revenue funds
Okay.
that are included as part of their budget
I agree with that.
presentation.
I think that's a good idea. And that also may be something that I could pose to Ms.
Yeah,
because.
Absolutely.
Yeah. She's very knowledgeable in this stuff. So,
Is that sheet?
it's the last sheet of this.
Yeah,
Here it is.
I kept going over it. I got
All
it.
right. Are there any other items for council to discuss relating to the budget, fee schedule?
not that I know of.
All right, if not, we'll turn it over to citizens' comments. Any comments from the floor tonight?
Oh, come on, guys.
That brings us to council comments. I have no comment other than everyone have a good week, and I'll see you guys next week at a regularly scheduled town council meeting.
Thanks, everybody, for all the help. We do appreciate it. Mr. Jones?
Thank you, everybody.
I just always, as always, thank you to the staff and thank you to our two intrepid citizens that have sat here through yet another meeting.
They are tenacious.
Motion to, you got any announcements? You don't know?
No announce. Do you have
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
any discussion?
Aye.
Huh?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, man.
Calling tonight.
Meeting
Amy
is
gonna turn
adjourned.
anything else up?
You know what? I don't know who did this wiring over here, but